So this presentation is going to be on an introduction to sports law. So I'm just going to be running through the basics of this part of law. So what is sports law? Sports law is a combination of laws which apply to athletes and the sports they participate in. A sports lawyer will be able to perform advise to athletes' business agreements, contracts of performance, financial transactions, litigation, and employee management. Sports lawyers can represent players, clubs, sports agents, regulatory associations, or sports sponsorship companies. So we just have a video of a senior attorney who's just going to go over what is sports law in a more in-depth.
So what is sports law? There are probably some wannabe sports lawyers out there, people that are lawyers already that are looking at sports as a potential space to enter into, and some questions about what sports law is. And what's interesting about it is it really is a combination of different fields. You know, where you have contract law, you have constitutional law, and those are clearly defined spaces in the law. Even something like copyright law or patent law is clearly defined. Well, sports law may encompass all of those. Sports law is more of an industry label on top of legal areas that happen to involve sports matters. There are very few laws that are specifically related to sports. You may have sports agent regulation, you may have a law related to amateurism through the federal acts related to amateur participation in sports. But beyond that, if you look at the whole history of sports law, if you picked up a sports law textbook, what you would see in there are cases that involve contracts, agreements between players and teams, antitrust, disputes between leagues and players' unions, disputes between leagues and teams, copyright. You can't use my team logos, you can't use the Olympic logo. Constitutional law related to freedom of protections in terms of privacy and not wanting to be drug tested. Those types of issues can come into play. Property issues in terms of eminent domain when someone's trying to condemn property for a stadium. So a broad range of legal issues fall into this whole broad space of sports law. So it's a very interesting space to be in. It's a very interesting space to define yourself as being someone involved in sports law. But it's a very wide and exciting space that can't be narrowly defined.
So that was a video just defining like the small definitions of sports law. So why is sports law important? Without a rigorous body of laws and regulating the conduct of players, the bodies that oversee them, sports would be in a state of disorder and would not be as successful as they are today. With more sporting activities and events being created each year, more people joining in, and better fees at stake, the importance of sports law has never been higher. Sports law ensures that players are given equal opportunities to participate in the particular field they choose. They ensure that players are not discriminated against due to their race, religion or size. Everybody is entitled to a fair opportunity as long as they have the skills and talent to play. There are limited slots in any particular sport, so selection process must be fair and relevant laws used to ensure that this happens. Sports law also protects the employment of players. Contract laws prohibit employers from freely dismissing players without due reason. Where a player is found to be at fault, sports law dictates that a regulated body looks into the matter. This is in order to create a balance and avoid malicious practice in the industry. For contracts to be legal, they must follow particular guidelines. The players have to be allowed to carry them out in full. Players, on the other hand, are bound to abide by their employment terms without fail. The current legal issues at the minute, the top one's doping and drug abuse. So this is like the Lance Armstrong case, where he was found to be doping through the Tour de France, which had a massive knock-on effect to his sponsors. This really devalued their company, so they've put a legal lawsuit against him, saying that he has defamed their image. The next one's CTE, which is a brain image. It's a brain defect, where if you have too many collisions on your brain, it can cause it to lead to early onset dementia. So a lot of players in the NFL and the rugby union are actually suing their regulatory body as they have not put proper measures to protect them in place. Match fixing's mainly down to like horse racing, dog racing and football, and especially in the Middle East where it's easier to change games up without a big eye over it. And betting, which is like public but non-athletes, it's where the public, you have to protect them and put safeguards in place to make sure that they're not abusing the system. Any questions?